Alright, so a big thing that we learned in this process was adding a window big enough for someone to escape out of, especially when the room is in the basement. Now, this was according to code, and it kind of sucks because on the other side, we finished the room, but because we don't have a window large enough for someone to escape out of, we lost out on the value of adding a legal bedroom. So technically it's only counted as an office space. So this time around, we were not gonna make that mistake.
Ow! Ow! I'm cramping! So another thing has to do with the design of your basement, and that gets into structural walls. So one thing that you have to know is if you want to take down, modify, do anything with the structural wall, it's going to be a lot more expensive than it would with the non-structural wall. And so this is an example of a wall that we were looking at, maybe modifying. I personally wanted to make this whole space a combined living/kitchen area and take down this wall, but our contractor let us know that it was structural, and so that plus a bunch of other things, we ended up just opting to make this a bedroom. So just keep that in mind. If you're trying to mess with the structural wall, things do get a little pricey.
And how did we know this was a structural wall?
Well, one of the key features of a structural wall is that it's usually perpendicular to the joists up here on the ceiling, and so that's one thing that you can tell. But honestly, at the end of the day, talk with somebody that's qualified to tell what a structural walls, or look at the building plans and you'll be able to find that out. Subfloors, subfloors, subfloors. If you want your floor to be nice and even, then obviously your subfloor has to be the same. And so this is actually a pretty good example in this room here of some nice flat subfloors. You know, typically when people do flooring, they just think about the kind of flooring that they get, but flooring won't mask issues with the subfloor. It'll eventually come to light, and so you want to make sure it's nice and flat. Now, if you come here with me to the bathroom right here, you'll see that we used to have tile down, and instead of tile now we're going with vinyl. So we're going to be putting vinyl in this bathroom, and you can see, you know, all this residue that used to be here from the tile that we're actually going to have to grind out completely flat to make sure that the subfloor, or that the actual flooring can sit in place where it should be. So make sure your subfloors are nice and flat if you want to have a good flooring product. So one of the biggest tips that we can give you is making sure that there's no water intrusion coming inside the basement where it shouldn't. In fact, I would almost recommend waiting a time period, especially if you just bought the house, to make sure that you get through those rainy seasons, those snowy seasons, to make sure that there's no water leaking through the basement walls. So we actually have that issue in our place, and it's something that we learned the hard way. So you can see behind this framing right here, you can see these black spots on the wall. These are actually places that we identified that water was coming through. You can see, you know, these water marks streaking down. And so we actually had to dig from the outside, fill it in with concrete, and then also put some of this material on here to make sure that didn't happen again. One of the other things that you'll do, and we'll show you a video outside, is that we also had the gutters. We did a French drain so that the gutters was taking that water, pushing it away from the house, because actually right outside of this window we have a gutter that was not set up properly.
Okay, so something that's super important that we've learned over the years is to make sure the plumbing and electrical are all updated and up to code. So this house, built in the 1950s, it still had copper plumbing, and so we went ahead and replaced all that with PEX plumbing, which is this red and blue piping that you see here. When it comes to electrical, there's certain things such as having the outlet spaced out a certain way. The circuit breakers need to be up to code, and that's just to make sure it can hold all the electricity that's pumping through the house, however that goes. But that's what we've learned to make sure of. And right now, electrical isn't done just yet because we have to finish framing, and then the guys can go in and do all of that. So that's pretty much it.